thought it might be kind of cool if I do what I eat in a week through the seasons. So this will obviously be the winter video because today is February 1st, so we're kind of smack dab in the middle of winter. I'm feeling in the mood for a lot of those hearty, warm winter foods. Today's a Sunday and I do have a pretty busy day, but I'm going to find time to go grocery shopping and then try out a new recipe actually this evening. But the rest of the week I'll feature mostly recipes that I've done before and enjoy. I hope you like it. Let's go.
Spicy. Your chilies?
I've got 4 chilies, five chilies. Wow, I might need some of your chilies.
I have to try some here.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Pulling into my garage. I'm home. It's always crazy going to the grocery store on Sundays. I don't know why I do it. I mean, probably because I don't want to go after work. Like everyone else in the world. Today I'm going to be making the only new recipe that I'm featuring this week, so I'm a little nervous about how it's going to turn out. I got a New York Times subscription as a gift for Christmas this year, and so I've really been enjoying using the New York Times cooking app. The one that I'm going to be making tonight is a chickpea curry. This specific recipe is called creamy chickpea spinach masala with takata. The takata is like an oil spice blend. Get to use my mortar and pestle today. So the first step of this recipe is grinding the spices, and so I got some whole seed spices, coriander, cumin, and then I couldn't find whole seed cardamom, which is a bummer because I know that the flavor is a lot better if you use the whole seed. So I'm going to start by just grinding up the whole seeds, and then I'll add the cardamom to it towards the end. I added olive oil to a cast iron pot and then poured the spices in to simmer a little bit in the olive oil. I added a whole chopped onion and some salt, and while that was cooking down, I rinsed some chickpeas in the sink to prepare those for later. They said to add some water to the onion mixture to keep it from browning, and then I added some garlic as well as fresh ginger. You can tell that I was running pretty low on turmeric here, but I used the last of what I had. I honestly have no idea how spicy serrano peppers are, so I'm not totally sure if I should be doing 1 or 2. The recipe calls for 1 to 3 to taste. Maybe 2. I like spicy food. Oh, it's not too bad. After adding the peppers to the pot, I added a couple of tablespoons of tomato paste. I followed that up with a pound of Roma tomatoes, diced. You probably could have used canned tomatoes to make it a little bit easier, but the fresh tomatoes were quite tasty. The recipe instructions said to add 2 tablespoons of the coconut milk first and mix that in, and then follow it up with the rest of the can of coconut milk, which I thought was interesting. But I did follow those instructions and then added chickpeas and almond butter, which was another surprising ingredient. The recipe called for a little bit of brown sugar, but sometimes I find that a pain, so I just added a little bit of honey instead. And then I covered the curry and let it simmer for another 20 or so minutes. So it's been a long, somewhat complicated process, but the curry is just about done. The spinach is wilting, and the last step in this recipe is the takata, which I didn't get all of the ingredients for that are needed. It calls for fresh curry leaves as well as this other spice mix. It's this word. I honestly don't know how to pronounce it without looking at it, and even then would probably get it wrong. But I'm going to try to kind of do a version of it with curry powder and some other alternatives. I think it's basically supposed to be like an oil spice mix that you drizzle on top of the curry. all done with the masala. Honestly, very curious how spicy it'll be. I probably should have taste tested it more along the way. Oh yeah. Very good flavor. I've made many different chickpea curries over the years, but I think this is definitely one of my favorites. I finished cleaning up the curry mess, so now I'm going to get started on some prep for my breakfast for this week. We're going to do 3/4 cup oats. The recipe typically calls for rolled oats. I have some quick 1-minute oats that I bought for camping a while back, so that's what I'm using today. I think that's going to be just fine. 1/4 cup of shredded coconut. I used to be a little grossed out by coconut. I don't know why, but more recently I've really enjoyed it. My favorite ice cream flavor is a coconut chocolate almond that they did not sell this year at the local ice cream shop. It was a seasonal flavor that they didn't bring back. I tried to tell them on Instagram that I'd like it to come back, and never happened. The recipe also calls for pepitas, which I love, but unfortunately don't have any, so I'm substituting some sunflower seeds, but really any kind of seed would work just fine. I'm just gonna do a little bit extra there. Some dark brown sugar, 1/4 cup. We're going to go with a heaping 1/8 teaspoon of cinnamon. Maybe even a little bit extra. Smells so good. Touch of sea salt. So the goal with the food processor is to get it mixed and chopped up, but not ground to a fine powder. We're gonna set this aside and start working on our egg white and nut mix. So I've mixed the egg whites to the point of being frothy, and now I'm going to add in my mixed nuts. You can use really any type of nut that you prefer. I picked up a mix of walnuts, cashews, almonds, hazelnuts, pistachios, but I think like walnuts, pecans, anything like that would be a good nut base. 2 cups, and the goal is to basically coat them completely in the egg whites, leaving no crevices uncoated, because this is going to help the nuts and the granola mix stick into clumps. Mix, but not perfectly, so just kind of loosely mix to get things coated. All right, into the oven we go. All done. I'm done with the workday and headed home, but I'd ordered some coffee last week that didn't arrive. So to make sure I have coffee for tomorrow morning, I'm gonna stop by one of our local coffee shops to pick up a bag of coffee. If it was earlier in the day, I'd probably just get another latte, but because it's almost 5 p.m., that's not gonna happen. I got some new bird seed. Curious to see if it attracts something other than house sparrows, which is what I usually get, unfortunately. The salad that I'm going to make is basically like a chopped up vegetable salad. I'm gonna add some cilantro, feta, and then make a homemade salad dressing with some tahini. The vegetables that I use for this type of salad vary just based on what I have or what's on sale. So today we're gonna do peppers, tomatoes, cucumber, and avocado. So this dressing is kind of something that I just make up a little bit differently each time. I really should at some point try to figure out which combinations and amounts of ingredients work best. So first I'm adding the last of the tahini that I have, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, juice from this hot and sweet jalapeno mix from Trader Joe's. If you're eating the jalapenos, you almost always have leftover juice, so it doesn't hurt to just use a little bit of it here. Olive oil, some salt and pepper. Finally, some garlic.
I like that. Oh,
Dude, the homemade dressing too.
Oh, yum. Maybe tahini, that was it.
Tahini is what I put in it this time.
Are you filming everything you eat in a week?
I am.
Oh,
I am. Looks pretty good. Wow. It's prettier with the salad too. I did book a 6 p.m. hot yoga class tonight, so I had a quick snack when I got home, just some of the granola-crusted nuts that I'd made earlier this week, and then I'm gonna wait to make dinner when I get back from yoga, since it'll be 7 p.m., a little bit after 7 p.m. at that point. I'm gonna do something pretty quick, just some fish and some other leftovers and sides with that as well, so stay tuned. I'm back from yoga. It was a pretty tough class. The Tuesday 6 p.m. class is always pretty brutal, but great. So I'm pretty hungry. I've got the oven preheating, and I'm gonna get started preparing the trout. I bought some bread from our local bakery the other day, so excited to have that. We'll have some of this for lunch tomorrow. Oh my god, it looks pretty flaky. Sweet. I really enjoy trout. I feel like it is like salmon, but sometimes I even like it a little bit better than salmon. Living in the Great Lakes region, it's a pretty ethical fish to have farm-raised trout. Yeah, it's a good choice. It's honestly usually pretty cheap at the store as well. Pretty tasty. Good morning, it's Wednesday, and I'm going to actually get started on my dinner prep now. So I'm doing a crock pot chicken soup recipe. This recipe is actually adapted from one that I saw on YouTube for the first time, but the way it was initially presented was more so like a soup that you're cooking in the evening about an hour or so ahead of mealtime. I really like cooking this in the crock pot because it's easy to get it started now, and then by the time you come home, the flavors have really developed and it's just about ready to be served. So you start with the cilantro and cut it in half, and then take the bottom half and put it in the crock pot. We'll save these for later. We'll do the reverse with the green onions. So we're going to chop the green onions and take top parts and put those in the crock pot and save these for later. We're going to take a whole clove of garlic, slice it through the middle. Put those in the pot. And then finally, we're going to chop up ginger into small segments. Add a little bit of salt. We added the chicken and we added a little bit more salt on top. And now to finish it off with some low sodium chicken broth. So we're gonna do an entire container, which is about 4 cups. And then we're going to refill the container with water and do another 4 cups of water. So I'll let it sit on low for at least 7 or so hours. It normally ends up being like 8 or 9 by the time I get home from work and can get cooking anything else that I need to go with it. So we're gonna let it go and the flavors will develop over the day and it'll be a really great, warm, cozy treat this evening.
That has been discussed, and this one has gotten some bipartisan support.
Workplace lunch ready to go. A bunch of leftovers. I made it home from work. The soup is smelling good and I got the rice starting to cook over on the stovetop, but I'm pretty hungry now, so I did make a piece of almond butter toast to have as a little snack. It's probably gonna be another 40 minutes to an hour before I eat, so should be good. So as a garnish for the soup, I'm going to be using the leftover tops of the cilantro, bottoms of the green onion, 2 jalapenos, 2 limes, salt, and olive oil. I also, the most recent time, started experimenting with adding bok choy to the soup to give it a little bit more vegetable substance because as you'll see, we end up removing most of what we put into the soup earlier today. When I've looked up how to cook bok choy, you're supposed to just submerge the entire leaf into soup and let that cook it. So the first time that I tried to cook the bok choy, I did that. I submerged like the full leaf part into the crock pot and I felt like it wasn't breaking it down enough, especially like the white chunky part at the end, and it was really hard to eat, really messy. I felt like soup was flying everywhere, and so I decided that time to like remove all of the bok choy leaves that had started cooking, resubmerge them as chopped up pieces. So if you have any insight on how to cook bok choy, please let me know in the comments, because I don't know. I don't know how people do it. I don't know if they cut off more of the white end piece, if they cut thinner like strips vertically. I don't know. I know this is not what you're supposed to do, so please tell me the correct way to do it and I will be more than grateful. So for the next part of the soup preparation, you're going to actually remove everything except the broth from the pot. We're going to start by taking out the chicken. I'm just moving them over to this plate here. After this second piece, it's okay if you catch some green with it. Ah! That's the danger when the chicken is so tender that it starts to fall apart. So again, we're discarding all of the greenery. Once we've gotten it down so that most of the chicken's pulled out, I like to start using my little strainer for the discard. It's okay if there's still a little bit of debris. You just want to have most of the big chunks removed. Really, once that's in, it only has to cook for a little bit longer to get the bok choy warmed and broken down. Back up. Okay, I think we can get started with plating. So we're gonna start with the rice, and then we'll add in some of the soup. Finally, we're going to top it off with some of our cilantro mix, which maybe is a little bit heavy on the cilantro. I had a little bit left over from that curry recipe. Here we go, final iteration of the soup. Bon appetit. Those peppers I used are spicy. Dang. I don't think they were jalapenos. I think they were something spicier, but they didn't have any jalapenos, so I went with it. I think I'm gonna start getting hiccups in about 5 seconds from the jalapeno type pepper. So I'm planning to bring leftover soup for lunch tomorrow, as well as Friday. And then I actually have an event after work tomorrow. So I'll probably either pick up dinner somewhere on the way home from that, or I'll just have more leftover soup. I finished my workday and I think I'm gonna have time to stop and pick up dinner before my evening event, which is great because I'm hungry. I'm gonna head to Brassica, which is a Mediterranean fast casual place, I think local to Ohio. I have a gift card. Unfortunately, traffic on the highway was really bad today, so I don't think I'm gonna have time to fully eat my dinner before I have to head on to the event that I'm going to. But I'm gonna have a few bites in the car because I'm starving. I think this is my favorite fast casual place. The good thing about it being below freezing recently is that I can keep my bowl in the car and it won't go bad.
Just at this point, Central and this FBI search.
I'm home, it's 9 p.m. and I'm so glad that I was able to eat a little bit of my bowl for the 5 minutes that I was sitting in my car. And I really don't want to know how much hungry I'd have been if I hadn't gotten started on my dinner. So I'm gonna have the rest of it now. I don't even know what I'm gonna have with it, but maybe I'll heat up some of the naan. That might be kind of nice. It's not really like pita to go with Mediterranean, but it's similar. Tomorrow's Friday, which is very exciting. I'm very ready for the weekend. For lunch, I'm just going to do more of the leftover chicken noodle soup, or chicken rice soup, I guess it would be technically. And then I'm gonna do something easy for dinner tomorrow because I actually have a big baking project that I want to attempt tomorrow evening after work. I'm excited to include that in the video. It is something I've made before, but it's still a little bit of an endeavor, I guess you would say. It's Friday. I'm done with work for the week. Oh my gosh, I almost slipped on the snow. Super excited to be headed into the weekend, and we're gonna get started pretty quick here on the baking project. That's the plan. So my project for tonight is to bake a couple loaves of challah. This is something I've done twice before, once years ago. This is all with a recipe I received from a friend back in college. And most recently, just last year, I made some challah actually for an Academy Awards party that my mom and I had together, and it was so good. So I've been wanting to make it again ever since, and I thought it would be fun to kind of showcase it in this video. This recipe only requires about an hour and a half of rise time, and then it only has to bake for like 30 to 45 minutes. So it's very doable in an evening and so delicious. So I'm very excited. I am doing 2 loaves because I want to make some for me and some to share. So the first trick when prepping yeast is to add some type of carb. So in this case, we're gonna add about a half teaspoon sugar to the warm water and dissolve that, and that helps the yeast, tablespoons of the yeast. Trying to gently break up clumps that may be forming. And then to the egg mixture, we're going to add oil. Some of the honey I have is like the more crystalline like honey, and some is the more runny processed honey. 11. So much flour. My goodness. I think I forgot the last time I didn't actually double this. 1 tablespoon salt. So the yeast has gotten nice and fluffy, if you can see that. So we're gonna add it to the mixing pot. I think we're getting close to the end of what my dough hook and my KitchenAid can handle, so we're gonna try to transfer this. I feel like I need a step stool when I'm kneading because I'm too short for this, too short for these counters. There we go, dough is ready for rising. I like to keep my bread down in this cupboard because I find that it's extra warm because it's right by the little heater. Now I have to decide if I want to clean up first or make dinner first. I think I'm gonna clean up and then make dinner. I'm doing something more casual for dinner tonight. Oh shoot. My easy dinner for the night, avocado toast with feta, peppers, some dill and feta. This is by far one of my favorite easy, simple weeknight dinners for when I've cooked and had leftovers and I just want something nice and fresh. We're in the middle of a snowstorm right now, but for some reason I just saw lightning and heard thunder, which I didn't know was possible in a snowstorm, so I'm a little freaked out. Oh, it's heavy. Whoa, it smells good too, like the honey. Do a few more, and then we're going to break it up and braid it. It's been 30 minutes, so we're gonna check on the bread. Ooh, it looks pretty. Wow. It's supposed to be baked until it's a brown color on the bottom, and it's not quite there. I hope it's cooked all the way through. Let's see. Pulled a piece off. Looks pretty tasty. Quite hot still. Good morning. For breakfast today, we're having some challah egg sandwiches. And as you can see, my challah did kind of fall into two halves when I tried to slice it, just with where the crease was. I don't really know if there's a way to avoid that. Maybe if you make a thicker loaf, but I'm just gonna have a lot of little mini sandwiches, so I think it'll be just fine. So we've got a few little mini sandwiches. I've actually already left the house and come back. My boyfriend got in via Amtrak this morning, and so I went to pick him up and then dropped him off, gave him one of the loaves of challah. I have a pretty busy day today, so after this I'm headed to a food bank and then meeting up with my mom for lunch, so that should be nice. Let's give this a try. I really like the basil and sriracha with the challah, the sweetness of the challah. Heading to lunch with mom.
Yeah, Juneberry.
Yes.
It's not too busy. No. Yeah, the milk's fine.
And then I'll do a cappuccino.
That's for here.
For here. We had to come up with an alternative plan because Juneberry was way too busy. We were walking in the Arctic weather. We found a place with veggie burritos and coffee. Cheers.
Get my handle.
Cool pattern from the lights. Like go stand in another room or something. Wow, so pretty. It's Sunday. We've made it a full week, which is pretty crazy. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Last night was really fun. Gates and I went to a restaurant in Little Italy, an Italian restaurant that we'd never been to before. It was called Etna, and we shared a salad that was delicious. It had like oranges, tomatoes, fennel. I love fennel. And then I got the squid ink pasta with seafood. So I think it had like mussels and shrimp, and it was so good. It's lunchtime. I'm back home, and so I was just gonna heat up the last bit of chicken noodle soup that I have from earlier. But that will be wrapping up the video. I'm hoping to do one of these for each of the seasons this year in 2026. So hopefully I stick to that. We'll see. You never really know. It's been great. All right. Bye. Till next time.